WADR. Promoting dialogue.
It's midday in Dakar, 1 p.m. in Abuja. Good afternoon, and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and online on WADR.org. Welcome to Newslink. Here are the top stories. Demonstrations in Nigeria lose steam as end bad governance protest enter day 8.
With the importance of the global Osogbo festival that is coming up in Osogbo, and to ensure that we still give the government the privilege of doubt to look at our demands, we have come to put this protest on hold.
Authorities in Dominican Republic discover lifeless bodies of migrants, including Senegalese. Burkina Faso military neutralizes several terrorists in collaboration with its civilian counterparts. And the Institute for Economic Affairs in Ghana plans a presidential debate for candidates ahead of the December 7 polls. Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Here is Abdullahi Hassan with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining us, and a warm welcome to our listeners in the Gambia, Ghana, Liberia, and Sierra Leone. We begin in Nigeria, where over 1,000 citizens who participated in the protest against worsening hunger and bad governance are currently being held in prison custody across the country. In its update, Amnesty International says at least 632 protesters are being held in northwestern states, including Kano, while over 109 are being detained in Sokoto State prison custody. It should be noted that since the start of the demonstration last week, these states have seen massive destruction of properties, lootings, and killings. Imo Edit has the rest of the story.
The End Bad Governance protests in Nigeria are a series of ongoing decentralized mass protests due to the rising cost of living in the country, described by economists as the worst economic crisis in a generation. The demonstrations escalated on the 1st of August 2024 when a once peaceful protest turned violent after the Nigerian security agencies attempted to quell the protests. Amnesty International, which has been monitoring the demonstration, criticized the administration of President Bola Tinubu for responding to the peaceful protests with a crackdown, rather than addressing the economic issues that are exacerbating hunger and harming families. Issa Sanusi is the country director of Amnesty International in Nigeria.
Based on the figures released by the authorities of Kano State, 632 people were remanded in prison in Kano. And we had it on authority that 109 were remanded in Sokoto. Over 70 were remanded in Kaduna. This is how the figures emerged and make it 1,000.
Sanusi further expressed concerns over the mass arrests and called for a more constructive approach to addressing the protesters' grievances. He also countered the report by security agencies that no one was shot during the demonstration.
It is really unfortunate that the police is wasting time on this denial, which is quite blatantly unfortunate because people were killed. Even yesterday, the military admitted that a soldier has killed a teenager in Zaria. And all those videos you see circulating, they are not fake. We have verified many of them, they are true. People who are killed, and they have to accept that people who are killed and find a way to ensure justice and reparation for those people who are their families.
Organizers of the End Bad Governance nationwide protests against hunger and hardship have said they would continue with the agitation despite the deployment of security operatives to scare them.
Imo Edit filed that report. Meanwhile, Nigeria's nationwide End Bad Governance protest appears to be losing steam as authorities impose restrictions and curfews in various states. The protest is sparked by widespread discontent with the government's handling of the economy, security, and corruption had gained significant momentum initially. However, WADR's Usman Umar in Abuja says as the demonstrations enters its 7th day, there is a decline in participation and intensity.
In several states, including Bauchi, Plateau, Kaduna, and Borno, 24-hour curfews have been declared, limiting the protesters' ability to gather and demonstrate. In Abuja, the capital city, protesters have been confined to the National Stadium, while in Lagos, they are restricted to the Gani Fawemi Center. Osun State protest organizers, on the other hand, announced a suspension of demonstrations due to intelligence suggesting hoodlums planned to hijack the protests and the upcoming Osun Osogbo festival. Adetunji Ajala, is the coordinator of the protests in Osun State.
In order not to endanger the life of our people and to ensure that we still give the government the privilege of doubt to look at our demands, and whereby we give room for engagement, we have come to put this protest on hold while we will communicate all other protesters as to next line of action.
Other states have also successfully reined in the demonstrators with reports of decreased turnout and reduced activism. Despite the dwindling protests, organizers insist that their demands for good governance, accountability and reforms remain unmet. The government's response to the protests has been criticized by the human rights groups who allege excessive force and intimidation tactics. Nigeria's police chief Kayode Egbetokun has, however, denied this allegation. As the situation evolves, Nigerians await a meaningful response from their leaders to address the grievances that sparked the protests in the first place. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Abuja.
Away from Nigeria, the Gambia, in collaboration with the Geneva Center for Security Sector Governance, DCAF, has officially validated its new internal security policy. Designed to tackle the nation's internal security challenges, the policy aims to enhance public safety and strengthen the rule of law. From Banjul, Sankle Janko tells us more.
The policy, according to authorities, will use a holistic approach which includes advanced training for security personnel, improved intelligence gathering, and stronger community outreach programs. By focusing on these areas, the policy seeks to address rising concerns over crime in the country. Abdullah Sanyang is the Minister of Interior.
By establishing a clear guideline and cohesive strategic internal security policy, ensures that all security institutions under the purview of the Ministry of Interior can effectively collaborate and respond to internal security challenges.
The Gambia in recent years has been impacted greatly by crime, including murders and robberies. The Geneva Center for Security Sector Governance, DCAV, has been a major stakeholder in this journey, and the head of DCAV in the Gambia, Kent Isaac, reiterated their continuous support to the cause.
Today's validation event underscores the EU's and DCAV's commitment to supporting the advancement of the security sector reform strategy.
Meanwhile, the National Security Advisor, Abubakar Suleiman Jain, highlighted the importance of the document.
The policy serves as a foundation for effective and efficient planning, coordination, execution, and monitoring of performance of the various internal security institutions to enhance interoperability, but most importantly, again, underline optimal security and safety service delivery.
The validation of this policy, according to authorities, is a commitment to a safer, more secure future for all Gambians. For Newslink and West Africa Democracy Radio, I am Sankule Janki reporting from Banjul.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
We are streaming live on Facebook at WADR English Service and on YouTube at WADR. Now, 14 bodies of migrants have been found off the Dominican coast. Most of the victims from Senegal and Mauritania were found in a drifting canoe. The Dominican authorities informed that an official investigation has been launched into the incident. We'll bring you details in a subsequent bulletin. And in Burkina Faso, the Volunteers for the Defense of the Homeland VDP and the Police Mobile Intervention Unit group say they carried out military operations that have led to the neutralization of several terrorists. These military operations were carried out in Bukul Duhum in the country. The action carried out by the Police Mobile Intervention Unit and the VDP happened on the night of Tuesday, August 6, during which several terrorists were neutralized and their military equipment was confiscated. According to security sources, a joint patrol team ambushed terrorists in Bukul Duhum on the night of the action, produced an impressive positive result. According to same source, reports say that the joint team also confiscated military clothing, tapes, pharmaceuticals, food, mobile phones, shoes, and trampolines in the possession of the terrorists. And in Côte d'Ivoire, PDCI leader Tidjane Cham has reacted to President Alassane Ouattara's address on Tuesday to commemorate the nation's 64th independence anniversary. The head of the Democratic Party of denounced the country's ranking in the Human Development Index, HDI. He also voiced his fears about next year's presidential election. In Ghana, the Institute of Economic Affairs of Ghana, EIA, has announced its plan towards conducting presidential debate for the leading political candidates in the December 2024 elections. This follows calls by many for the Institute to hold a debate for the leading contenders in the crucial polls. This is besides the fact that John Dramani Mahama, a former president and the current flag bearer of the largest opposition party, has declared that he is not interested in debating the flag bearer of the ruling party, Dr. Bawumia Mahamudu. But the Institute of Economic Affairs says it is already planning the national debate. Listen to Sophia Akufo, a distinguished fellow of IEA, rolling out the plan for the high anticipated debate.
The IEA will hold 2 presidential debates, respectively in Kumasi and Accra, for selected flag bearers. While answering questions pulled from the entire country, the presidential candidates will also have the opportunity to articulate their policies and programs for the nation. The debates, additionally, will provide the candidates the opportunity to point out the weaknesses in the policies and programs touched upon by their opponents. Regarding the vice presidential debate, the IEA will hold 1 vice presidential debate in Accra for selected candidates. Now, regarding the presidential evening encounters, the IEA will organize 1 evening encounter for each of the selected presidential candidates.
That was Sophia Akufo, a former Chief Justice of Ghana and a distinguished fellow of the Institute of Economic Affairs. And just before the break, the Joint Public Account and Audit Committee of the Liberian Legislature is warning President Joseph Boakai against indicting officials due to an audit of the General Auditing Commission without recommendation from the legislature. Acting upon the GAC audit, the Liberian leader proceeded to indict several former officials of government, as well as to suspend the country's bank's governor, Aloysius Talu, something the legislative body insists is illegal. WADR's Daneton Popper reports.
The lawmakers argue that once an audit is conducted by the Auditing Commission, it is the full responsibility of the Legislative Public Accounts Committee to review said audits and, where necessary, recommend the executive branch of government to proceed with indictment. Public Accounts Committee Chairman Clarence Gar said the President's decision usurped the function of the committee, hence advised the President to desist.
The Auditor General report is laid before the legislature, and these hearings are conducted. Validation of the reports are sent to the President before actions are taken. If the President wants to suspend any member of the Cabinet, a report before the committee cannot be the basis of suspending them. We are calling on him, and the Auditor General report is before us. He can do nothing to it. We want him to desist from that.
Meanwhile, Justice Minister Oswald Tuer disagrees, saying a special committee was constituted to critically review the audit reports even before the President's decision to suspend the bank governor.
GSC have come up with a lot of audit reports. We have set a committee that is reviewing the audit reports, and with the committee, each entity or government define anything bordering on criminality, additional charges will be filed against people. All spending entity or government will be audited by the GSC. Those who are arrested based on what the FIA was an investigation conducted by the LACC and the Ministry of Justice.
Presidential Press Secretary Kula Fofana differs with the legislature, calling on them to use the law.
The President has a team of lawyers. The President works along with his team as to how certain areas operate. The action by the President is a legal action, and the President is very clear. We have our legal system here. If anyone feels that is not within the law, it's a very simple matter. People are encouraged to use the law.
For now, members of the Legislative Audit Committee have vowed to suspend the ongoing audit verification until the President can desist from reportedly undermining their work. For Newslink on West Africa Democrats Radio, I'm Darlington Popper in Monrovia.
You are listening to Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, or broadcasting on 94.9 FM and online at wadr.org. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Demonstrations in Nigeria lose steam as end bad governance protest enter day 8. Authorities in the Dominican Republic discover lifeless bodies of migrants, including Senegalese. Burkina Faso military neutralizes several terrorists in collaboration with its civilian counterparts. The Institute for Economic Affairs in Ghana plans a presidential debate for candidates ahead of December 7 polls. Still ahead in the news, we have the press review, guest interview, and a sports update. Please stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Many thanks for staying with us. The President of the Republic of Togo, Foya Singbe, has extended his sincere condolences to the Conference of Bishops of Togo following the death of Monsignor Nicodeme Anani Bariga Bensian, Metropolitan Archbishop of Lome, who died on August 4. He made this known when he received the delegation from the Conference of Bishops led by its president, Monsignor Benoit Alowono, on Wednesday. The episcopal delegation officially announced the death of their late colleague to the president, who in turn expressed his sadness over the death. He extended his condolences to the family of the deceased. The deceased was a prominent figure in Togo whose dedication to the cause of peace, reconciliation, and social justice left its mark on the nation, particularly through his work as the head of Togolese Truth, Justice, and Reconciliation Commission.
This is the newspaper review. Stay abreast and find out what the top stories are in your country.
This is the newspaper review.
The newspaper review.
From Accra, Ghana, WADR's Nadiri Tete is standing by with a review of major headlines on the front pages of Ghanaian dailies and online portals.
Greetings from Accra. Welcome to the Newspaper Review segment. Let's start off with a major newspaper, the Daily Graphic. The banner headline: President tightens grip on public lands. Presidential approval now needed for sale and transfer. Also here on the front page of the Daily Graphic newspaper, 100,000 farmers to benefit from agribusiness project. And the final headline here: we need $271.7 billion to expand roads. That's according to the finance minister. Now to the Daily Guide newspaper front page: security beefed up in Myong over clashes, and NEIP launches presidential pitch. Let me take you through the Finder newspaper now. Front page: economic outlook promising, but inflation, exchange rate stabilization remains significant challenge. That's according to the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, ISE. Also here, small-scale mining generates $1.7 billion in 6 months, and government touts long list of infrastructure projects in the Greater Accra region. Final one: reliable data is a new gold to drive Ghana's digital economy. Now to the Anchor newspaper front page: Electrochem's $80 million salt project set for stock market. Ghanaians to own shares as Deputy Minister rallies Adachi's residents for support. Also here, Ghanaians in UK safe despite escalating violence, says the High Commissioner. Gold exports to hit $10 billion by end of 2024. Now to the Chronicle newspaper front page: Baumia proposes radical reform of road tolling system. This quote here is attributed to him. It says, "It appears we are tolling the poor and leaving the rich and affluent to enjoy. Persons who live in places such as East Legon, Cantonment, Ridge and Laboni don't pay any tolls, but they have some of the best roads in Ghana." Also here, CJ opens debt recovery court to tackle rising case backlog, and no candidate or political party is superior to the will of the people. That is attributed to President Akufo-Addo. Let's end with the National Enquirer newspaper front page: milking the state. Baumia's brother grabs juicy sole-sourced contracts worth 218 million Ghana cedis. Threats and abuse of children. Charlotte Osei finally speaks on challenges she faced as EC chairperson. That'll be it for the Newspaper Review segment coming to you from Accra. It's back to you in the studio.
Many thanks, Nadiri Titi.
Politics,
Analysis on major news,
social matters, and all. This is a guest.
Our guest this afternoon is Barrister Fred Nzioku, a Nigerian constitutional lawyer who takes us through recent debate about the classification of certain actions by the Nigerian government during the end bad governance protest as treasonable felony. Among them, sponsoring of the protest and waving of the Russian flags as reported in the northwestern region.
It is more or less an ignorance of the strict principle of law for anybody to say that the waving of the flag is a treasonable offense. I think the government, especially the security agencies, use the word treason just to intimidate the people and drive them out of the streets. But I can tell you that most of those people who were waving the flags didn't even understand what they were doing, neither did they even know the source or the import or significance of the flags they were waving. One can only begin to talk about treason if, as defined by our constitution, if one does anything that will not only intimidate the government, but goes further to put into action anything that will topple the government. The issue of one waving flag, don't forget that Nigeria recognizes that a citizen can hold dual citizenship, in which case a citizen can hold the citizenship of Nigeria and the citizenship of another country. Many of our leaders hold citizenship of countries like America, Britain, Saudi Arabia, and some other countries of the world. And in some homes, and even in some public and social places, you will see flags of other countries hoisted. In some of these religious organizations, like the churches, especially the Pentecostal churches, you see multiple flags of various countries hosted in those places. In some hotels in Nigeria, you see many flags of other countries hosted in those places. So anybody who says those children waving the Russian flag had committed treason, the fellow really does not understand what he's talking about in terms of law, in terms of practice, and in terms of precedence.
There's been a division on this argument on social media platforms, those who are for and those who are against that statement. And many argue that perhaps it was set to deter further use of these flags, and maybe also the fact that there's been an ideology being sold to the people, which of course was characterized by the call for a coup.
Even a call for coup does not amount to treason. A call for coup is an expression of frustration and disappointment. Because in law, we talk about actus reus and mens rea, the intentions and the action. If intention alone does not amount to action, one can begin to talk about treason if the action so presents itself that the fellow had moved in the direction of treason.
Well, see, talking about some legal issues tied to the ongoing hashtag and bad governance protest, we understand that the Nigerian Immigration Service, NIS, said this week that it has identified some sponsors of the protests who are in the diaspora, and should they attempt to travel back to the country, they will be arrested and handed over to the appropriate security agencies. Is it a crime under the Nigerian Constitution for anybody to contribute to protests?
I think the head of immigration was only trying to say the things Mr. President would like to hear. The head of immigration was only trying to be nice before the international community. There is nothing wrong in protest, absolutely nothing wrong. As a matter of fact, it's a fundamental right of the citizens around the world to protest whenever they feel they are being given the short end of the knife. The people in the diaspora, or even those within Nigeria, who were identified as the organizers and the arrowheads of the protest, have committed no offense to have organized the protest. They were not the ones that asked those to go and commit crime. They are not. It is the duty of the government to arrest those who committed crimes, and then those ones who committed crimes will now answer for themselves because nobody sent them. Those who went and burned down offices and destroyed cars and other things, nobody sent them. Those are the criminals because it is like holding the baboon guilty for the offense of the dog in the same compound. That is wrong.
Barrister Fred Nzioku is a Nigerian constitutional lawyer. Up next is Sports Update with Sankule Janko.
Hello there, warm welcome and thank you for joining us. Nigeria's women's basketball team were defeated by the U.S. women's basketball team 88-74 on Wednesday in the quarterfinals of the Paris 2024 Olympics. Team USA will face Australia in the semi-finals on Friday. Having lost to USA 146 previously in the qualifying rounds, Nigeria kept Wednesday's game considerably closer and trailed USA 31-27 early in the second quarter. But USA closed the half on a 21-6 run and never looked back. The winner of Friday's semi-final against Australia will face the winner of France-Belgium in the other semi-final. Elsewhere, Morocco's Soufiane El Bakkali successfully defended his title in the men's 3,000 steeplechase at the Paris 2024 Olympic Games, winning his fourth successive global title in the event. The Moroccan, competing in just his second competition of the year, emerged from the pack on a frantic final lap to win 8 minutes 6.05 seconds. USA's Kenneth Rooks took a surprise silver in 8 minutes 6.41, finishing 0.6 ahead of Kenya's Abraham Kipward, earning another bronze following his third-place finish at the World Championship last year. And USA's Quincy Hall won gold medal in the men's 400 meters at the Paris 2024 Olympic Games, where 5 runners beat 44 seconds on Wednesday. A jubilant Hall won in a personal best of 43.40 seconds, while Great Britain's Hudson Smith took home silver after finishing in 43.44 seconds. Zambia's Muzala Somukonga, who beat Hudson Smith to the Commonwealth title in Birmingham 2 years ago, came through to finish third, bettering the national record of 43.81 seconds he had set in the semi-finals with a timing of 43.74 seconds. And that's it for sports. It's back to you.
And with that, we've come to the end of this edition of Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Mustafa Sek and Maojo Juf for the technical support. Do interact with us via social media platforms X, formerly Twitter, Instagram at WADR News, and on Facebook, WADR English Service. As a reminder, we stream live on WADR.org, or simply download our application today from Google Play Store, WADR Live. Coming up at the bottom of the hour is our environment flagship program, Enviroscope, to be followed by Info Chez Vous at 1 p.m. That is the news in French with Demba Amar Ann. I'm Abdullah Hassan. Good afternoon.